Hi, my name is Cully Byram, and today I'm going to be talking about my new app, QuickWiz. QuickWiz is a vocabulary learning app that is intended to deliver quick, digestible sessions of vocab learning for busy folks who want to strengthen their vocabularies. First, let me introduce you to Leah. Leah is a 35-year-old project manager living in New York City. She's a new mom and lives with her husband, baby, and dog. Some interests of Leah's are traveling, exploring the outer boroughs of New York City, hiking with her dog, and playing on her intramural soccer team. So here we have a day in the life of Leah. She spends more time than she'd like commuting to and from work. She rides the subway almost every day and usually listens to podcasts or plays a game while on the train. At work, she sits in long meetings and works with her team to tackle challenging projects. At the end of the day, when she comes home, Leah just wants to relax and spend as much time as possible with her family. Like a lot of women in her 30s, Leah is trying to find a balance between motherhood and her career. She loves her job and wants to advance her career, but is finding it difficult to dedicate as much energy to her work as she did before having a baby. So here's, that gives us a snapshot of Leah's life. One day, her boss overlooks her for a project and assigns it to a coworker. She knows she hasn't been quite as sharp as usual and begins to lose her confidence. So Leah needs a way to keep her brain sharp and get back on track at work. So we arrive at our problem statement. Leah needs a way to learn vocabulary words without expending a great deal of time or energy because she wants to maintain her confidence at work. We will know this to be true when we see that Leah is able to learn new industry-specific words to confidently participate in meetings and advance her career. So I began sketching some wireframes for this vocabulary app. I initially focused on the tasks of completing the onboarding process and creating and reviewing flashcards. So I ran usability tests. With these tasks, I got very useful feedback from my participants. These specific tasks were complete the onboarding process, create a user account, add a new word to your flashcards, and practice flashcards. So here are some of my early prototypes. We have the login screen, which was intuitive and easy for the users to use during the usability test, but I got feedback that the users preferred an option to opt out of signing up and skip ahead to the app. The next screen is part of the onboarding process. It's meant to identify the user's interests so the app's algorithm can personalize the content that the user interacts with. The feedback I got from users was that this message was not clear and that they were confused as to what to do with this screen. Here we have another part of the onboarding process. The user is asked to either choose their own knowledge level or take an assessment test to have their level determined for them. Users wanted more information on what each of those different levels meant and why they were choosing them. Right, now we arrived at the home screen. Users were confused about the progress indicator as well as how to navigate through the app, which is obviously a big issue. Tying into the next screen, the menu icons were not intuitive to users and they didn't understand what they meant. The way that the categories were grouped was also not intuitive, didn't make sense to the users, and made it very difficult to navigate. So both of these were huge hindrances in allowing them to complete the task of creating new flashcards. Now, once in the flashcard screen, users showed some hesitation in adding a new word due to a rather cluttered menu bar. They also wanted a way to sort through their flashcard sets more easily to find the one that they're looking for. They took all the feedback from these usability tests and applied it to my prototype. Overall, the prototype needed to have a more intuitive flow. It also needed increased and enhanced copy to help guide users to the right place. So here we have our improved prototypes. On the sign-in screen, I added some copy to the top of the screen explaining the motivation for signing in. Now that you've gone through this onboarding process and input your data, sign up to save it. I also added an option to skip signing in at the bottom. On our onboarding screens, I updated the title copy to make the prompts more understandable. I also reduced the amount of buttons visible on this interest screen while allowing more to be accessed by scrolling left. I expanded the selections for levels and added a copy to help guide users on the knowledge level assessment. And we're back at the home screen. I added some personalization as well as remove the progress indicator. That just lives in the profile section now. I added a label to word of the day. The menu icons were one of the biggest problems, so I redesigned them and gave those labels. We have a house for home, a brain and a head for learn, and a play icon for practice. The categories were also tripping users up, so I combined games and practice into one category, practice, and nestled here now we have flashcard quizzes and games. Now in the flashcard menu, I added a sort option as well as reformatted the flashcard set icon to a box that shows the amount of words in that set. The user can scroll to find more sets. The add new word button is now standalone and bigger, so it's easier to find. So the next step in the user journey is to continue to create low fidelity wireframes for the remainder of the app, expand additional features, and conduct more usability tests, and then to repeat as much as necessary until we're ready to develop. As this was my first time designing a mobile app, I learned a lot. First, I found it really helpful to warm up my drawing brain by making these little doodle birds and really got the juices flowing. It was hard to stay focused on one task at a time, on just one user flow. I found the more that I got into it, the more I wanted to continue to design every feature of the app. I had to consciously refocus on the task many times. I also learned that it is okay and expected for these first wireframes to suck. Even though I knew that the first wireframes were supposed to be rough sketches and would not be anywhere near perfect, it was hard to put pen on paper and just sketch without trying to, revise as I went. I found the usability tests were incredibly helpful in highlighting errors. It's obviously their intended use, but seeing the subjective feedback from all of these different users was really helpful to identify issues that I hadn't seen. I also found that participants were very eager to share feedback on other features of the app outside the scope of the test, which is helpful in the long run, but when trying to tackle one task at a time, it's important to take note of that feedback, but not to get too sidetracked. I learned that icons that may be intuitive to me as a designer might not make any sense to the user, so to keep that in mind when designing, and that there can be such a thing as too much onboarding. I did, found some from research that often users can experience cognitive overload if there are too many features in the onboarding process. So I had considered including some overlay instructions in there to help identify the menu icons, but decided to just make those icons a little bit more self-explanatory and add titles to them so that we could avoid an additional layer of onboarding and still help users to navigate to where they needed to go. So that is my initial prototype for QuickWiz. Thank you so much.